Hello, Steve. So nice to see you.
Mercy, what a terrible thing to say. Isn't it, ladies?
Yes, terrible.
Welcome in, Kuma crew. It is once again your favorite friendly despair bear, Annakuma, and I'm here today to spread despair. I don't actually know. I guess I'm gonna cry, actually, probably. I'm here presenting the Harvester Support Group for anyone who feels personally attacked by playing this 1994 point-and-click game by Gilbert P. Austin. Yes, our second retro spec game will be Harvester, guys. I've said it. It's Harvester. I mentioned playing this game on stream, not knowing anything really about it, but then my good old friend Babylon Zor redeemed it, and it became my priority after Old Skies. Yes, I played Harvester straight after Old Skies. I don't know if that was a good thing or not, but it was what happened. So, go check out Zor, because he's a wonderful human, and I mean that, even if he did make me play Harvester. Now, fans of the game might be getting their pitchforks out, but don't. Trust me, don't. I love this game. Or at least, I love how cheesy and terrible the game is. I can understand why this game has a cult following, especially in this day and age. The manual itself says this. I never got the manual out and I knew that was coming. Letter from the producer. First of all, let me say thank you to each of you who have purchased Harvester. Although this project has taken a considerable amount of criticism for the violent content, as well as a considerable time to develop, we felt compelled to make sure it remained as close as possible to the vision which we had for it. As I am sure some of you know, Harvester has been in development for a while now, and you have probably wondered whatever happened to the project. Well, I'm happy to say, after all the late night pizzas, we finally did it. The project became, as some projects do, more than the original design. Technology changes, and we kept wanting to add cool stuff to the concept. While this had good end results, the development was hell, but it was important to each of us that the product had strange and altered states that we wanted. Finally, I would like to make one point which I feel very strongly about: censorship. Now, I will be the first person to tell you that although I personally do not have children, I would not want them to play any game which has any sort of graphic violence or blood and guts, etc. But people must understand that if a product which has such content has taken precautions to deny access to children, then adults should not be denied the enjoyment of playing a violent game or watching an R-rated movie. Society is going to have to grow up one day and realize that in a country which allows freedom of speech as well as creative freedom, the job of raising the children of America is the parents' responsibility, not the entertainment industry. I also want to thank each and every person who has helped in one way or another in the creation of what we hope is a truly unique product. Without them, we would have in no way ever attempted to violate as many standards as we have, and believe me, Harvester will PO many organized groups. Okay, enough said. M. Lee Jacobson. Harvester is known these days for being kind of shocking, very violent, and extremely crazy. You cannot stream this game without someone walking in whilst you are saying something absolutely bizarre and making even the deepest of lurkers come out to question what the hell you're even saying. What is happening? And why are you shouting aliens, penis, lodge, meat, fuck over and over again? Quick note for anyone that hasn't watched my Lost Eden review, my retrospect videos aren't actually retrospectives. No, I know I'm confusing, and I love to confuse people, so these are just kind of longer reviews with me diving a little deeper into the story. I will not be spoiling any puzzles, or I'll try to not do that as best I can, but I probably will give away most of the story in a short-term way. These are kind of in-betweens for my normal very short reviews and my perspectives, which are much bigger retrospectives and take a long time to make. Hence, I only have one uploaded. Go watch it, because I nuked so many videos on YouTube in a stupid decision and need the views on everything. It's very good, it's about Broken Sword 1. But let us talk about Harvester. We wake up as a kid called Steve. He doesn't know who he is or where he is, and no one is gonna help.
You always were a kidder, Steve.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
You always were a kidder, Steve.
You can have game tips on, which are a thing. Enjoy them. Mainly though, your first room is your bedroom, and it gives you an idea of how this game works. Pretty standard early 90s FMV fare. You'll click around the screen to see if you can interact with anything. The cursor changes depending on how you interact with an item, again the normal stuff. Magnifying glass for looking, mouth for talking, and hands to pick it up. But this game does have one thing that others didn't, because if you right click on anything, you can attack. Not necessarily the thing you're right clicking on, but your attack. After picking up stuff in your room, you can exit to find your first NPC. This dewy looking kid watching violent TV shows.
Leave me alone, will ya? This is the good part.
You can talk to him, he's meant to be your little brother, but he's rude and abrasive. Not that little brothers aren't, but we don't remember him at all.
You always were a kidder, Steve. Leave me alone, I'm sick.
When asking him why he isn't at school, he says he's sick. It is obvious he isn't, and that he's obsessed with this TV show that he shouldn't really be watching anyway. We learn our dad is behind this door here, and our mum is in the kitchen cooking thousands of cookies just to throw them away because she's actually too early for the bake sale at the end of the week. Oh, and there's a baby who isn't important until much, much later, and only for one shocking scene. Conversations in this game are going to be bewildering. Choices will disappear in the conversation log, but you can enter text as well. So if you remember what it is that you've missed talking to someone about, you can just input it yourself and ask them anyway. I feel this was meant to make the conversations feel more alive, more active, more normal, but it just got a little bit annoying after a while. The only Easter egg I found, or I should say my chat told me about, was if you enter this to your mum and you get this.
What a thing to say to your mother. Was that an invitation now that your father is out of action? Maybe later, dear. Right now I have housework to do. Though you can watch if you want.
You'll also be told to make sure to take the paper outside for this kid called Jimmy every day. I did miss giving him the paper on day one because I went back into the house thinking I might have some shoes for him, but when I left the house again to talk to him and give him the paper, he was gone. I don't know what happens if you don't give him the paper, but if I ever go back for a proper full look at it, I'm sure I'll find out. After dealing with Jimmy, you'll get to go and have a look at the map for the first time, and it is both amazing and annoying, and a little bit confusing. It's amazing because it's just a look at the town. You get to pick what building you want to go into and just go there. Hovering over the building will tell you what it is, and there are a good deal of places to visit that are all quite unique. Then it is annoying because it is cut into 4 sections. To move between the sections, you have to hit the side of the screen and it will cut to the next one. So it is very janky to use, but also some buildings are in the middle. So if you don't remember, for example, that the diner is in the middle, you'll be looking around this map trying to find it for ages. It doesn't help that you can also accidentally just move the screen left and right whilst trying to hit those middle blocks either. Then it's confusing because, well, just look at it. You have our house, the house of the girl we're told we're marrying, an abandoned house, and one other neighbor. A handful of shops are over here in the corner. Then you have a military base in the middle. There's a lodge in the actual center of the whole town, a church and a graveyard. Like, there isn't much of a residential area. We have some weird places to visit. It adds to the overall mystery of Harvester and what is going on. The town, by the way, is the town of Harvest, which I guess is where the name of the game comes from. So Steve learns he's getting married to this girl. She also doesn't know what is happening and doesn't believe her parents are her real parents. Which, to be fair, with a dad like this, I'm sure she won't want to be related to them.
Everyone needs at least 3 servings of red meat a day. And anyone who says otherwise is a commie. And once you're married to Stephanie, I'll be part of the family too. And your father will give me all the meat I want. Kinda makes up for not getting into the lodge.
She also doesn't want to get married to us. She also doesn't really want to help us either, so Steve basically has to run off and try to join the lodge himself. Harvest is split into a few different days and nights. The first day feels like the busiest because you'll want to walk around and talk to everyone. And trust me, you need to talk to everyone just to get lines like this.
I'll admit DNA's done and does good business. But money isn't everything to a woman. Can money keep you warm at night? Can you wrap your thighs around it? Or rake bloody gashes in its back with your painted hollowed fingernails? Edna! Edna! So, how's Stephanie?
But after day 1, their lines don't really change other than to react to anything that might have happened the day or night before. Not only that, but day 1 has one of the bigger puzzles, which is getting the application to the lodge in the first place. You won't necessarily know that this is your quest. Plenty of people tell you that you should join the lodge, and you'll figure it all out in course, but you might think that getting the application will be a multi-day thing. But no, you get that on day 1, and then giving the application in will jump you to day 2. Your next few days will see you doing a bunch of tasks for the lodge to get yourself entrance to said lodge. These are all going to be much harder than they sound, and they are all also going to be criminal activities. We're given these tasks by Temu Moist Critical over here, who talks to us using the power of the mind. I don't know why, but sure. Yes, you will spend the whole time doing bad things like the bad person you are. Now, one reason this video isn't a full look into this is that I save scummed a lot. You'll have multiple ways of game overing in this game, all of them via death usually, but you also have a 3 strikes policy with the police. So if you are caught doing something bad, you have 3 attempts before, again, they just kill you. I never tested this system out. In fact, I never even figured out how to get out of the cell after strike 2. I didn't want to walk around with just 1 strike as the cutscenes were tediously long anyway, just to be arrested, even with skipping them. If I ever come back to do a full look at the game, I'll have to see how it all plays out. Trust me guys, I really want to do a longer, very in-depth look at this game, but I want to get my favorites out of the way first, and in 1 year I've only managed to do 1, so we'll be waiting a while. Day 2 will see you scratch this guy's car. To be fair, this guy truly deserves it, as he's a bit of a creep, especially when it comes to Dina from the diner. And when I say creepy, I mean like seriously, this guy is creepy.
Edna Fitzpatrick is one of the snootiest women in town. I declare there isn't a woman in Harvest that turned me away. If I was interested, that is. Just because she owns DNAs, she's got all these highfalutin ideas about independence, and her with a little girl to raise. That child needs a father. And Edna, well, she needs a good hard penis.
Day 3 is all about getting some fabric from the gay fireman. Yeah, that's a whole thing. Day 4 will see you stealing the barber's pole from his store, whilst Day 5 wants you to burn down the diner itself. Now, there is a point to all this in the end, which you find out on Day 6, but it just feels like mindless violent crimes for the sake of it. During the day, everyone is at home or at work, and they seem pretty normal. I say normal, no one's normal in it, but they seem normal enough. They're cookie-cutter people from the perfect American dream of what people should be. Other than Hobo Dad over here, who just wants some meat. At night is when weird stuff happens, or weirder stuff, I guess. But even then, it isn't really that weird. The weirdest one being Mr. Potsdam being caught abusing and burying Karen. I say weird, messed up, I guess. Even then, you just see him digging, and then you go back the next day and dig the girl up, and she's fine, until Day 6, when we're not going to talk about that, to be fair. There's also the question of what is happening to hobos that are wandering into town. They get let up in the hotel just to die mysteriously, and that is why we're having a bake sale, because the owner of both the hotel and morgue is the same guy, and he's losing money on burying the homeless people for free. It is obvious he's killing them, but other than a small mention that he was killing them for food for the lodge, it doesn't really go anywhere, which is kind of the big problem with Harvester overall. It tries to be shocking, but never commits to a shocking thing. One of the teachers is hyper-violent towards her class, whilst the headmaster makes hints at inappropriate behavior with adults as well as children. Most of the men in the game are just sex pests, and the women are seen as being cookie-cutter and mainly just there to be women. The gay characters are super stereotypical, campy types, and the guy looking after the military base is paranoid of communists of any kind. Your mum has your dad locked up in the bedroom to torture him for her sexual pleasure. Your brother Hank will say some weird-ass shit as he's obsessed with violent TV shows, and the guy that is in the TV show just wants to be violent to people. Even when shocking things happen to characters, they are seen just not to care about them. The best example of this for my playthrough was I had 2 cutscenes back to back. The first was Dina having hung herself and her daughter, and the sheriff sat crying and eating a pie before going to see that my fiance was just a spine and a skull, whilst no one seemed to care, and the sheriff ate more pie. I guess whilst it had a point in game as well, it was meant to be commentary on how violent and weird things happen enough people just don't care anymore? Maybe? And before fans of the game jump in and think I've missed a point, no, I haven't. I know there is a point and we'll talk about it later. As I said though, day 1 is where you'll get the majority of the talking and world building done. Then, the rest of the days, you are just trying to find a way to complete your tasks. Day 6, you end up in the lodge itself, which I'm not gonna lie is a bit messy. Again, this part of the video is for the story, I'll go into this in a moment. You basically need to get to the top of the lodge and face 3 floors of challenges. The first is basically walking around this gooey meat hole, walking in and out of pulsing sphincters, and killing anything that comes near you. The second, you'll be walking around trying to finish quests to basically find where to go. That being said, as weird as the second floor was, I found most of it was kind of pointless. In fact, you mainly just need to kill this clown and then open this hidden doorway, as well as pick up a few items. I found myself dying to this guy to pick up a book over and over again, just to be told later that the only information I get from it is something I already knew, because his room came after the chess guy's room, and I killed the chess guy anyway, and then the janitor and then the clown. There is a lot of killing in this section. In fact, other than one thing, I don't think there is anything I did kill in the first part of the game. I did scratch the car in front of this old pervert on my first attempt, but attacking him just leaves you dead, so yeah, you don't get much of training in the combat. If it isn't weird creatures in the flesh hole, then it's just random objects and people wandering around the other 2 floors of the lodge. Floor 3 is meant to be some sort of test. It is where the game really tries to amp up the weirdness and brutality, but again, it never truly commits to anything. So in the eyes of someone playing this game in 2025, it is less shocking than it would have been in 1994, and I genuinely feel probably less shocking than its reputation even then might have been. It is like an Eli Roth film, gory for the sake of it, but with little substance underneath. People will see the shocking stuff and think that is what you're getting, but really it is just a bunch of nonsense and hyper-violent moments stringed together in a bit of a mess. You have a few rooms where you don't need to fight. You can fight, but be warned that healing items are far and few between, so be wary of that. Especially as the final 2 rooms are brutal. But mainly the whole point of it is to fight your way to the Temple of Love where Stephanie is waiting. And an explanation of what is happening. Oh, and a choice. Thankfully, you get to save the game as you make the choice, so if you want to see both endings, you can do just by opening up a save just as you make this choice, which is good. See, this is all a simulation, and you have to pick between killing Stephanie and becoming a serial killer, or living the rest of your life in Harvest. Well, technically you just get killed, but you'll feel like you lived your life, even though you die. Obviously, the correct answer is to kill Stephanie, or at least the endings have that. The answer we found more interesting has a real ending, and the one we didn't like the most got a shit ending, kind of feel to it. You don't get to rebel, there's no breakout or saving both of you, you either decide to be a serial killer or not. Heck, if you decide to be a serial killer, you'll get to have the whole violent media makes people violent conversation with your mum, where you deny that is the case after becoming a serial killer. But hey, that's it. You have completed Harvester, congrats. After the credits, you get the funky game over screen again and you're done. So let us talk about the game proper, shall we? It actually plays really well. I think my chat were ready for me to complain about the gameplay, but honestly, I didn't have any problems with it at all. It is easy to find most hotspots. I think there was only ever one that I failed to find and spent too much time trying to figure out what I'd missed. The inventory is fine, there is nothing bad about it, but I would say the items are a little on the small side, but they're easy enough to pick up and use. No, things are also very well signposted. Now what I mean by that is, for example, when I try to take the bars off the window here, the game tells me there must be something in the house that will turn the security off, which helpfully sends me in the house to check on things. Again, just looking at the bars in the window will tell you what kind of screwdriver you'll need to get the screws out. Just telling you what kind of screws are on the windows instantly tells you that you need to have a screwdriver of some sort to get it off and which kind you need. Honestly, a lot of the game does explain itself well enough if you can see between the really silly parts of the game itself. Now that doesn't mean the main objectives are easy to figure out, or indeed what happens next in any case. but it gives you enough clues that if you get it wrong once, you'll figure out what it is just by thinking about what you've heard before. Again, to steal this barber's pole, you need to know that the guy who owns the barber's pole got security set up on it, but the security system got messed up. So just turning off the light will turn off the security to the pole, something these two will tell you about in between talking about aliens and being a plumber. Moving about is also really easy. You'll get this exit sign on your cursor when you can leave a screen, which makes a hotspot for those screens much easier to find than, say, a King's Quest game. You don't really move Steve around so much as have him stand on any given screen and then just look around at what is around you. Like seriously, the game works really well for a FMV that came out in 1994. The only exit screen hotspot I had trouble with was the one coming off of the main screen of the school. Every other one was fine to figure out. What I will say is that the combat isn't the worst, but it also isn't the best. It is a janky 90s FMV game, and the hitboxes are kind of all over the place. You don't get a whole lot of healing items, and the silly thing is that the ones you do have on you in the first part of the game are taken away from you when you go into the heavy combat area of the lodge. You are just hoping to find food as you walk around the lodge. At no point did I find the end area too annoying, but it wasn't easy either, so I recommend making plenty of saves. In fact, make plenty of saves in general, because the game has a problem with cutscenes. This is kind of an editor's note, I guess, though also not, which is why the next thing I say after this might jar a little, but the Steam version has many problems with cutscenes. You can shrink the window down, and that solves some of the problems. I found setting the CPU cycle to 200,000 worked, but there are still a few cutscenes that I needed to window the game for. Honestly, it was only 3 I had problems with. One never played, which I'm gonna guess is the mum killing me for interrupting her in the bedroom with dad. The one in the chapel did play and windowed, as did the one telling me the TV station was on fire. At first I missed both of them, and they were both very important cutscenes. GOG apparently has this all fixed, so like most games, probably buy from GOG instead. We get little cutscenes here and there, and I guess this is where the game got its reputation from, because it gave the creator a chance to just be wild in what he presents to you. For 2025 standards, nothing is really that shocking anymore, even if they did take me back a little, whether played up to the camera or not on stream. There was nothing here that we haven't seen in the 20 years between, done a million times over at this point. That being said, back in 1994, it probably was extremely shocking. Now it is all kind of just goofy. It does try to go for the ultra-violent stuff, the kid watching a cowboy violently murdering Indians on the TV, for example, or the teacher in the school smashing a student's head in for very little reason. You also have the mum poking the eye back into the baby's head, all very shocking. But it also went for the absurdly over the top, like when you upset the guy at the military base and he shoots you, but because he has no legs and is for some reason just on the floor with the nuke button in front of him, shooting you one-handed has him fall over onto the nukes button and blows the entire world up. Again, in the eyes of someone playing this in 2025, none of this really is super shocking. Violence in video games is just a thing now, and I had just came out of playing the Last of Us series that had some brutal moments in them as well. I guess the question is whether it was needed. The answer is probably no. Not because of the content itself, but because the game seemed to want to have these shocking moments, but no real reason behind them. Sure, people say that it's meant to keep you guessing what is going on in the game, but the road to any of these cutscenes are just a little too all over the place, and I guess it isn't the scenes themselves at that point that are the problem, but it is me criticizing the writing. So for those who might already be typing out comments about me missing the point is that this is meant to be a simulation. It is meant to put you in a position where you had to choose violent answers, to do criminal things, to lie to people, and constantly be exposed to bigotry, hatred, and some messed up shit, and see what you'd end up like. You get to pick going against all this or to just join in. It didn't really need that, and it didn't go anywhere. Like, seriously, it didn't go anywhere. If his point was that violent video games won't make you violent, then having the main character make the point after picking the violent answer isn't the win he thought it was. It was probably meant to be satire. Well, no, it 100% was meant to be satire, but it just came over as someone trying to be super smart about something that was a concern back then. The rating systems were new to gaming, and it was taking people a while to realize not every game was going to be age appropriate for their kids. Was the hysteria around violent video games dumb? Yes, hysteria like that around media is always dumb. My biggest problem with the game is that instead of making a decent point or having a fun time and just ignoring the hysteria, it felt like he got annoyed with it and tried to make a game that was a big middle finger to these groups and ended up never committing to one thing or the other with the story. And to be fair, there is a moment where this clicked into my head as the problem, and that is this clown's room. You can click around a bunch of things in this room, and Steve is forever just saying that it is all gross or he won't touch it. This room could have been a room where he fully went down his rabbit hole for whatever reason. There isn't anything to do in here other than kill the clown and take its belongings and leave. Hell, the poster that apparently tells you why the birthday party wasn't a happy one is so low quality you, the player, never know what it says. After all the cutscenes, after all the dumb shit we'd seen, this room was where it felt to me like it showed that he never truly wanted to push any boundaries, and just maybe a good story somewhere got mixed in with just being shocking for the sake of it and got a little lost. But it doesn't stop the game being fun in its own weird way. Oh, and I love the creepy mums at the bake sale.
Hello, Steve. Why, I never! Isn't that right, ladies?
Yes, never.
So with all this said, would I recommend Harvester in 2025? Well, it works pretty well on Steam, and you can get it on GOG, and if you like weird games or point and clicks in general, then yes, 100% I would recommend it. In a way, it is a capsule in time of what people were doing with not just gaming, but the genre of point and clicks themselves. Even Sierra were moving away from just fantasy-based games like King's Quest and going into FMV and horror themselves. Adventure games were evolving fast, and whether there was a message horribly lost in the game's writing, or just a dude who wanted to make something shocking, in between the crazy stuff was a well-put-together video game, to a point. Like seriously, it is funny as hell. It is memeable as any other game you'll ever play, and it isn't a chore to finish, or at least I didn't find it one. What are you losing, other than maybe a little bit of sanity, which to be fair, sanity is overrated. To be honest, part of me would like to see this game remade, or at least someone tackle something similar. Why? I don't know. Again, I have some problems with the writing and how the game came together, but honestly, I would love to see it smoothed out and the ideas behind it be explored again. I don't think the game itself is all that awful, and it is an experience that is... okay, I can't say enjoyable, because someone will genuinely have me committed, but it was for sure an experience I'll never forget. I'm not saying that Harvester is gonna appear in my top 10 games. It never will. Not even in my top 10 FMV games or adventure games, and there's not that many FMV adventure games I've played. Heck, I was crying for a game that would out-gay Gabriel Knight 2, which is the FMV Gabriel Knight and one of my all-time favorite games now. And then my friends gave me Harvester, and I've never been more uncomfortable sharing an experience with people as I have been with Harvester. But I survived, my chat survived, maybe, and I kinda liked it, and whether you'd like the game or just find it gross and unneeded, I feel if you've gotten to the end of this video, and this bears opinion, then it is an experience you need to have yourself. Again though, that is all for the video today. A huge thanks once more to Babylon's Wall for making this a game I had to focus on, so I got it out of the way, and also a massive thanks to anyone who has sat and watched even the smallest amount of this video. 2025 has been difficult, and I might have messed up my YouTube page for a good long while, being a dum-dum, because I always am, but even the smallest amount of support right now will move me back on the right track, so thank you so much. If you would like to continue to support this bear here, then please leave a like on this video, comment below anything about this game, because I don't have anything to ask you about. It's just an experience, guys. Let me know how you liked it, and then subscribe. Also follow me over at twitch.tv/Annakuma, where I do plan on playing Darkseid soonish, and I've heard that's gonna be another experience, guys. Heck yeah. Till next time though, thank you as always for watching, and bye-bye.